You did it again. You sent the third text, the one pretending to be casual, the one you typed while hating yourself for every word. You already know about inner child work. You've read the books, you've journaled the wound, and then someone takes 3 hours to reply, and your body hands you a strategy so fast you don't even clock it as a decision. The problem isn't that you don't understand your needs. It's that in the moment they light up, you can't tell the difference between what you actually need and the panicked impersonation your body reaches for instead. By the end of this video, you'll know how to find the real need underneath a triggered moment, the specific kind that tells you what to do next. And you'll know how to give your part of it to yourself first, so when you do ask someone else, it's a clean request instead of an emergency broadcast they can feel through the screen. Brianna is in the school pickup line at 4:16 on a Thursday, one hand on the wheel, the other refreshing a text thread. Her daughter Ava has been asking all week if Saturday's sleepover is still on, the one with Brianna's close friend Kendra. So Brianna sent the text that should have been simple. Still good for Saturday? The delivered mark appears, then nothing. She tells herself not to make it weird. Kendra has a job, Kendra has a life, people take time to answer. She knows all of that in the calm part of her mind. The problem is the calm part is no longer driving. Within 3 minutes, her stomach is tight. By the time Ava climbs in, Brianna is refreshing the thread at red lights. The first meaning lands fast and old, she's pulling away. The second lands faster. You should not have counted on this. You always misread closeness. By 5:02, she sent a second text pretending to be casual. No worries if plans changed, just let me know. By 5:41, a third. Totally fine either way, just trying to plan the weekend. She knows the messages are loaded. She knows they're moving from information into protest. She knows the speed in her body is writing them. And she can't stop. Because in that moment, getting a reply feels like emotional survival. At 6:18, Kendra answers, back-to-back meetings, picked up her son from practice, Saturday still works. Brianna gets the relief, but it's the stale kind. The thread carries the smell of urgency. She feels embarrassed. She feels angry that one delayed text had that much power over her. And then, the familiar aftertaste. I knew better. Why did I chase anyway? Here's what actually happened. Brianna had a feeling. Distance panic. Underneath that feeling was a real need. Clarity about the plan and a little comfort so the waiting didn't turn into a spiral. But she never got to the need. She went straight from the feeling to a strategy. And the strategy was pursuit. That gap between the feeling and the need is where your triggered decisions go to die. When you're frightened, your mind compresses 3 very different things into one. A feeling tells you how the moment is landing. Fear, shame, pressure, panic. A need tells you what would actually steady you. Clarity, comfort, protection. A demand tells another person what they must do right now so you can feel okay. Those are not the same. And when you're activated, you skip straight from feeling to demand. You skip the need entirely. Your partner sounds flat on the phone. Feeling, fear, need, clarity, maybe comfort. Demand, text me back right now and prove nothing is wrong. Your boss sends terse feedback. Feeling, shame, need, clarity about what actually needs correction. Demand, tell me immediately that I'm doing great so I don't have to feel this. Your mother uses guilt and you feel 6 years old inside your adult body. Feeling, pressure, need, protection or choice, or time before answering. Demand, stop making me feel guilty. Delivered from a state too flooded to set a real limit. This is the part where most people lose the relationship. Not because the need was too much, because the demand was the wrong size and shape for what they actually needed. The other person experiences pressure, accusation, or confusing urgency, even when the underlying need was completely legitimate. I'll show you exactly what Brianna does differently the second time around. But first, you need the short list of categories that turn feeling into need. Because in a live moment, vocabulary matters less than speed. You don't need a list of 42 emotional needs. Under pressure, that becomes one more thing to get wrong. You need 6, and the fastest way to learn them is to hear them inside thoughts you've already had this week. When your mind says, "I need someone to tell me we're okay," that's comfort. Your system needs soothing, steadiness, or connection. It's the need that makes you want to hear that nothing is broken before you can sleep. When your mind says, "What does that silence actually mean?" that's clarity. The problem is partly being created by missing information. You don't know if the plan is still happening. You don't know if the tone shift was about you. Brianna's entire pickup line spiral was a clarity problem wearing an abandonment costume. When your mind says, "I need this to stop," that's protection. Something is unsafe, intrusive, or too fast. Your body keeps saying, "I need space. I need this tone to stop. I need this conversation to slow down." When your mind says, "I can't handle one more thing," that's rest. Your capacity is below the moment. The need isn't deeper analysis. It's a sandwich, a shower, or 10 minutes where nobody asks you for anything. When your mind says, "That actually hurt and nobody's acknowledged it," that's repair. Something happened, a harsh tone, a missed promise, a joke that landed badly. It needs acknowledgement before the rest of the conversation can continue honestly. And when your mind says, "I have to answer right now or something terrible will happen," that's choice. You feel cornered. The adult move isn't explanation, it's recovering your right to pick. Because the second you believe you have no real option, you're already negotiating against yourself. Pay close attention to which one you recognized. There's a good chance you've been solving for the wrong one for years. You keep asking, "Are we okay?" when what you actually need is, "Are we still on for tomorrow?" That's confusing comfort with clarity. You keep chasing reassurance when what you actually need is sleep. You tell yourself you need to be less sensitive when what you actually need is to stop treating every wave of activation as a command. When you misname the need, you reach for the wrong repair every time. That's why the relief never lasts. You keep solving the wrong problem with the wrong tool and then blaming yourself for still being broken. Let me show you what it looks like when someone gets the naming right, because Brianna gets a second chance. 3 weeks after the pickup line incident, a similar moment hits Brianna. Different plan, same bruise. Stomach drop, chest heat. The urge to send a second message before the first has even been answered. But this time she asks a different question. Not, "Why am I like this?" Not, "How do I make her text me back?" She asks, "What is actually needed here?" The answer isn't "make Kendra be a better friend." It's also not "never need anyone." It's more precise. She needs clarity about the plan. And she needs a little comfort so the waiting doesn't spiral. Those are two different needs. They don't require the same move. So she does 2 things. First, she supports herself before she reaches. She puts the phone in her bag for 20 minutes, picks up Ava's library books from the passenger seat, and gives herself one steady sentence. Not harsh, not mushy, just honest. You're getting hit with distance panic. Don't make the thread carry that. That sentence is doing something most self-talk never does. It names the pain without shaming it, and it holds a limit without pretending nothing hurts. That's the tone that actually works when you're activated. Warmth and firmness at the same time. Because most self-talk falls into one of 2 traps. The first is harsh. Grow up. You're doing it again. This is why people pull away. That voice tries to create control through humiliation. It doesn't work. The second is soft but empty. It's okay. Nothing is wrong. You deserve perfect love. That voice feels good for 10 seconds, then leaves you with comfort but no actual next move. Steady self-talk does both jobs at once. Warmth says, "This hurts." Limit says, "Don't hand the wheel to the hurt." Warmth says, "No wonder this hit the bruise." Limit says, "You still need to choose your next move carefully." Warmth says, "You want closeness." Limit says, "Don't chase it in a way that makes you smaller." Then, when Brianna checks the thread again and still sees nothing, she sends one clear text instead of 3 escalating ones. "I need to lock in tomorrow by 7. If I don't hear back by then, I'll assume we should reschedule." At 6:43, Kendra replies that her son has a fever and she needs to cancel. Brianna feels disappointed. She notices the sting, but she doesn't spend the night decoding the friendship. She doesn't turn a scheduling change into a verdict on her worth. She tells Ava the plan changed, orders pizza, and texts another mom about a park meetup on Sunday. The difference between those 2 afternoons isn't that the second one hurt less. It's that Brianna knew the difference between a feeling, a need, and a demand. Now, this is the part where most people think they've solved it and quietly make the whole thing worse. Learning how to give yourself what you didn't get as a child does not mean becoming a sealed vault who never needs anyone. That's not self-support. That's armored independence. And it's just as unstable as the collapse it's trying to prevent. You're allowed to need closeness. You're allowed to need information. You're allowed to need repair. The goal isn't radical self-sufficiency. The goal is to stop outsourcing emotional survival. Those are completely different things. Outsourcing emotional survival puts your nervous system in someone else's hands. It sounds like, "I cannot settle until you answer. You need to reassure me until I stop spiraling. If you would just say the right thing, I would be okay." That position creates enormous pressure in the interaction. Even kind people struggle when they're asked to be the entire regulator for a moment they didn't create alone. Here's what the difference looks like in real time. Janelle is 37, an operations manager. She's 10 minutes from a leadership meeting when her partner texts, "Need to talk later." No context, no tone, no time. Her body reacts instantly, chest heat. Her jaw tightens. Her mind starts building the case before she's even finished reading. He's unhappy, he's been distant all week. This is the conversation she's been dreading. The outsourcing version of Janelle sends 3 probing questions, then a defensive paragraph about how stressful it is to get a vague message like that in the middle of the day. She hands the entire emotional moment to her partner and demands he solve it on her timeline. But Janelle catches the sequence. She recognizes the chest heat. She notices her thumbs hovering. She takes one breath and asks, "What do I actually need right now?" Not reassurance, not a declaration of eternal love by 1 p.m. She needs clarity, just that. Maybe later, depending on the answer, she'll need comfort or repair. But right now, first, she needs to know what category of problem she's standing in. So she gives herself one internal line. This is panic filling in the blanks. Don't let it write the text. Then she sends 7 words. "I'm in meetings until 3. Is this urgent, or are you wanting to talk tonight?" She puts the phone face down on her desk, sits through 30 seconds that feel like 10 minutes. Her partner replies, "Not urgent, just need to figure out Saturday logistics." The panic wave doesn't vanish, but now Janelle is dealing with a scheduling issue instead of a relationship apocalypse she invented under pressure. That's the difference between outsourcing your survival and making a clean ask. Same need. One version creates a crisis, the other resolves one. Here's what I want you to do this week. Take 3 moments where your mind starts building a case and translate each one before you act from it. Use this 4-step translation. Step 1. Write the complaint exactly as it sounded in your head. Don't filter it. She never texts back. He doesn't care how this lands. Nobody considers what this costs me. Step 2. Name the strongest feeling underneath. Not bad, not upset, more precise, exposed, dismissed, trapped, abandoned, invisible. Step 3. Translate that feeling into one need category: comfort, clarity, protection, rest, repair. Choice. Pick the one that fits best. Step 4. Decide what part of that need is yours to provide first, before you reach for anyone else. Here's an example. Complaint. He's being weird and distant, feeling fear, need, clarity, plus a little comfort so you don't chase. Your part first, stop rereading the chat. Write one direct question instead of 3 testing messages. Then add one line of self-talk short enough to use live. One sentence that names the pain and holds the limit at the same time. Something like, "This is distance panic. I need clarity, not chasing." Or, "This is overload. I need rest before I decide what this means." And here's the line that makes the whole thing click. After each translation, ask yourself, what would my old move have been? That contrast teaches you the gap between the real need and the frightened strategy that usually impersonates it. This is simple enough to use in the moment. You're not trying to become less needy. You're learning to stop translating every need into a panicked strategy. If this video described the way you handle triggered moments, if you recognized yourself in Brianna's text thread or Janelle's need to talk panic, drop the need category that hits you most often in the comments. Comfort, clarity, protection, rest, repair, or choice. I read everyone, and I think you'll be surprised how many people share your exact pattern. If you're trying to stop reaching for the wrong repair in your triggered moments, this channel gives you one real tool a week. The actual mechanics of what to do when it happens, not theory. The next video goes into boundaries, because you can name the need perfectly and still betray it in your decisions. That's the piece that makes all of this actually hold. If you want the full framework, all 5 steps of the reparenting repair path with every tool in one place, the complete guide is linked in the description. You're doing harder work than most people will ever attempt. And the fact that you're here, learning to hear what your triggers are actually asking for instead of just reacting, that's not small. That's the whole shift. Estimated runtime on 17 minutes at natural speaking pace. Word count 2,450.